Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself, Dean, and Neil. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this match preview for Liverpool's. I'm titling it a revenge game for tomorrow. I don't know if Neil and Dean will agree with me on that, but before we get into everything, please do like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and make sure you have your notification bell on for all future streams and videos. We will be live again tomorrow after the game, about 5:30-ish. That'll be the time. Dan will be hosting that one, and then I'll be around again at 7:30 tomorrow evening. So make sure you have your notification bell on for all of that. But we may as well just get into the thick of it as it is at the moment, because Arsenal have beaten Brighton handedly, similarly to how we beat them handedly last week. It's not really to be unexpected. And City, somehow, I don't think anybody has any sort of a clue how, managed to scrape it by Crystal Palace today in the early kickoff, despite having no Foden and whatnot and everything. But it is what it is. City should have had a penalty against them, but when is that going to be called on them? Yeah, it's just, I'm a bit deflated after that. My FPL is looking good, but that's the only fucking positive I can take from today, to be perfectly honest. Dean, I'll come over to yourself first. How are you, first of all, and how did you enjoy today's football? Was it the results you were looking for, or obviously not? Realistically, that's a stupid question to ask, but give me a review of the football today before we get into the preview for tomorrow. Were you happy with some of the performances, like just mainly focusing on City and Arsenal?
I'm fine, actually. I've got to that stage where watching these games is just, I've realised it's not worth the stress. In all honesty, like, I'll tune in if they're 2-0 down with 2 minutes to go, sound. But especially the City game, even when they were 1-0 down, you knew what was going to happen. All it's done is deny me a clean sheet on FPL, like you say. So I stuck to the Norwich and the Ipswich game, and it was all right. So overall, my Saturday's been fine. I did watch the Arsenal game, though, unfortunately, for the first half only, and even that riled me up so much. Just I wanted to travel down to Brighton myself and throw Lamptey into the river, because it was honestly absolute drudge. I can't stand the man after that 45-minute performance. So yeah, I'm going to stick to my principles from now on and just avoid it unless it involves Liverpool. But yeah, other than that, been a solid day, but yeah, a bit deflated in regards to them two results.
Yeah, I mean, I've accepted the fact that it's going to come down to the last day. Neil, like, we've been here before. We've done this shit before. We know what's going to happen. It is going to come down to the last day, and we can only hope that Gary O'Neill will do us a favour on the last day and give everybody the day off, as Dean said to me in the group chat earlier today. I don't know if it was you or Dan that said it to me. It was one of you guys. Said that Gary O'Neill might do us a favour, just give everybody the day off and just let us have the win. How did you enjoy the football today? Arsenal, I think, are just drudge to watch. City were there for the taking, and it just seemed like Palace kind of laid down and took it.
I thought Palace, first half played quite well, and held their own, and then they had that 25-minute spell after the break where they just couldn't keep hold of the ball, and they got punished for it. Eze, I thought, had his worst game I think I've ever seen. But City are fallible. You can get in, you can create chances against City. Whereas I think with Arsenal, having just watched that, defensively they're probably the best of the three teams, and I think the stats kind of prove that. And Brighton can be tricky. I wouldn't say they played an intelligent game, but Arsenal had an answer for everything defensively. So yeah, I think it'll carry on. I think now the European games start again. I think that'll be key. Arsenal probably got more difficult fixtures than City, and we've probably got more difficult fixtures than City. So I think we've got an advantage at the moment. We've just got to concentrate on win the next game, and that's all we can do. And then if we get a bonus because someone draws or drops points by losing, then great. But just concentrate on what we're doing, and if we win every game, we win the league.
Yeah, that and at the end of the day, that's it. We just got to do our job. It is in our hands. We have a game in hand. We're 1 point currently behind Arsenal as it is, and if we just go and do our job tomorrow, we're sat at the top of the table again, and then it's on them. The pressure immediately gets put back on them to sort it out. So it is one of them that, as Paul mentioned, like, we're going to have to win every game and we never get anything easy. But if your arsehole is not perpetually puckered, you're not a Liverpool fan, and that's the best way that you can put it. If you're not consistently with a heart rate of 120 BPM, you're not a Liverpool fan, and that's just the way that this team does it for us. And in that sense, it shows you care. But 22 millionaires running around the pitch kicking a ball of fresh air, it's quite funny that has that much of an effect on you. But we'll get into the preview of the game for tomorrow. And Neil, I'll come back to yourself first of all on this one. Is we got knocked out of the FA Cup where it was just a bad day at the office for us, I feel. We didn't take chances in the second half, could have put them away in the second half, and we didn't, and it came back to bite us. And this play style of maybe starting a little bit slow, maybe conceding first, and then being on the back foot and having to come out and really perform in the second half, you'd assume it's not sustainable, but it's how we've been all season, and we're now currently sat probably top of the table. So is this a revenge game tomorrow, or should this be looked at by the players as just another Sunday?
I think we should. I think we should use it to learn lessons from that game. Because yes, we did concede first, and we got back into the game, but we were comfortable at 2-1. And I would almost call what happened in that last half an hour a bit complacent, if I'm honest. And that's probably the only time I can accuse us of that this season. It almost became a little bit too easy, and we started playing poor passes in the final third. So I think whilst I'm not one for this is Man United and we've got to be up for the game and all that, there should be a steely determination that we don't repeat the same mistakes that we made in the FA Cup game tomorrow, because we are a better side than them. Anyone that's watched them of late can see that they've got problems. They've got injury problems as well defensively, and there should be so much space on a big pitch that our fantastic football players in the middle of the park and forward should be able to exploit. So let's not use it as it's a massive game, Liverpool v Man United. Let's use it as we need to punish them because we didn't put them to the sword last time, and we should have done.
Exactly. They need to be put to the sword. And Dean, they're currently missing practically all, bar one, of their senior starting centre backs, and they're quite depleted as it is at the moment. And Johnny Evans, for all that he is actually quite doing well for them lately, and he's out. And then you have Rafael Varane, who's out as well, and Lisandro Martinez, who's out too. And realistically, it's Harry Maguire and some young kid that we've never really heard of. Is there a particular area on that pitch that Liverpool should target? Should it be their midfield and try and overpower them and get in Bruno Fernandes's head? Because when his shoulders drop, the rest of the team seems to drop. Target Rashford maybe and be a bit more physical with him. He doesn't like to play the game and he doesn't like to track back. Or should we target the sort of young centre back and the lack of experience between the two and communication between the two and let Darwin Núñez run riot?
It's the entire spine, in all honesty. I just don't think they have one at the moment. Even when everyone's in that team, it's not exactly great, but especially at the moment, there isn't a spine. The centre-backs, like you say, depleted. That midfield's either got no legs or it's all on Kobe Mainoo, who's been the only shining light, in all honesty, this season. They put all their hopes on an 18-year-old kid to make their season a relative success, by their standards anyway. So it's just to take control of the game. As much as we all love a blood and thunder, exciting game, I just wanted to turn up and win 2-0. Easy. Just control the game. That's what we didn't do last time. We did in spells, to be fair, and that's when we looked comfortable, but we just got slack and we got punished for it on multiple occasions. And like what Neil said, we just got to take control and just see it through, because that's all we can really ask for now. Use the last one as an experience. It's not a revenge, because in all honesty, it was our own fault. With the reason we'd lost was through complacency. End of story. So just control that midfield, whether that's going to be through having Curtis Jones come back into the starting 11, or it's to stick to the main three we've been seeing recently. Either way, we just got to control that midfield and push them right back. You saw Chelsea the other night. Chelsea is shocking at the moment. They really are. They drew with Burnley at home. They were awful. Against 10 men, Burnley at home. And they still managed to come from, 3-2 down to win 4-3. United, when they're under pressure, they fall apart. Now, the only downside is if we were West Ham, if we were Fulham, if we were Wolves, this game would be an easy 1-0, 2-1, because Man United don't get up for them games.
Yeah.
The fans and the Man United players get up for this game because they know if they get anything out of it, it makes them look so much better. It turns the fan base onto their side. Whereas a midweek, well, a normal mid-table clash just doesn't do anything for them either way. So it just frustrates the hell out of me when they come up against a half-decent side. They put a bit of a performance in, and it just seems to throw us off our game sometimes, especially at Old Trafford anyway. They did it at Anfield, to be fair, but that's once again down to us not being clinical in any sense. We had 30-odd shots, and we didn't take any of them. And the FA Cup, like I said, was complacency. So we just need to turn up and just do our job. That's all I can ask for. If we turn up, we win. I think we just literally put it down to that.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, it's similarly to an Everton game. These games mean more, and form kind of goes out the window. And it's absolutely fucking terrifying when that happens, because all of a sudden Rashford turns into a prime Ronaldo and just starts going all over the place, and then Bruno turns into his best self and his shoulders don't drop and he's up for it. But it's what I see a lot going through the comments here is scoring early. If you score early rather than letting them into it, all of a sudden they're on the back foot and have to come out and open up, and then that would leave us with better opportunities then going forward. But it is one of them that's kind of, form goes out the window, and that's the problem. But
last season's the key of that, isn't it? We were shocking going into it, and then we ended up winning 7-0. You know, they were banging form, full of confidence going into it. Gary Neville was laughing his arse off on the touchline before the game, going, "Oh, it's the most confident I've ever had coming into this," and it ended up being the heaviest defeat ever. So that's just a pure example of it.
Yeah, it's and Paul, I see you saying here you're not worried about that game. On paper, Liverpool wiped the floor with United as well. Position by position, as we are right now, with the 11 that started against Sheffield midweek and United's 11 that started against Chelsea midweek, Liverpool wiped the floor with them on paper. But the problem is form goes out the window in these games. Everton and Liverpool, form goes out the window. City and Liverpool, form goes out the window. It's one of them that's just absolutely shocking. Like, it's really annoying, but it is one of them that we just have to go. Neil, like, who do you think may be the X factor tomorrow? Like, who's going to be the one that may stand head and shoulders above everybody else and proclaim themselves as the hero of that game tomorrow?
I think at the moment it's difficult to see beyond Alexis McAllister, because since the start of the year he's been absolutely outstanding. So I'm fairly confident that we'll get a performance from him again. We'll get a performance from Endo, as we do every game. I think what will be key is the forwards being clinical. And at times we can be a bit rash in forward areas, and sometimes I think we just need to take a deep breath and relax in and around the goal, because we can be wasteful, as we were in that FA Cup game. So I think McAllister's probably the key player for us at the moment. He'll dictate how the game goes. I think the one difference this time is they'd had a week to prepare, I think, for the FA Cup game. They played Thursday night, similar to what we did, in a fairly end-to-end type, blood and thunder type encounter, where emotionally at the end they had a lot probably drained out of them. So I think that might work in our favour as well. But as I say, I think McAllister and probably Salah are the two key players for me tomorrow.
Yeah, McAllister definitely is. I think he's going to control that midfield massively. One person that has come back and I think might be a bit of a silent X factor, Dean, is Wataru Endo. Like, we missed him against Brighton. We could very much see that McAllister, albeit outside of his absolute cracker of a goal, was maybe not shackled. Shackled is probably the wrong word, but wasn't as free as he normally is, if that makes sense. But with Endo there now and allowing McAllister to push forward, and maybe even the substitutes that came on, like Jones, if it was a midfield of Endo, McAllister and Jones, that trio may be seen as the X factor. Would you agree with that, or do you think it's going to be somebody else completely?
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think the only other option, it's just between Szoboszlai and Jones. I think the other two are pretty nailed on, providing Endo's 100%. Like you say, it allows McAllister to do what he does best and be progressive and them little tight areas and pushing the the ball through the final line. But the goal against Nottingham Forest is the pure example of that. He's just a magician, simple as that. Been fantastic, even more fantastic, I should say, since he's been allowed to move further forward. But it's really racking my brains who would rather have if Jones or Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai's been the last couple of games he's pushed on a little bit. He's had his role tweaked slightly by Jurgen. That's what he said. I think it was after the Brighton game. He says he's changed his role slightly. But I think Jones helped so much. I know it's a different game, but Jones helped really cement the dominance against Sheffield. Even though we were controlling the game, we didn't create anything. I felt that Sheffield made the best chances in that first half on Thursday night, even though we were winning. I didn't feel we created much. Second half, I know we were pushing for it more as soon as it went to 1-1, but Jones come on. I felt like we just controlled everything in that midfield, camped them into basically their final third constantly. And I feel like we'll need that against United. They're going to constantly look for breaks on the counter because that's all they've got. They've just got pace on the counter attack with. Probably get Anthony's probably going to start. He had his only ever good game for Man United on Thursday. Obviously, like Rashford, as you imagine, Højlund and Garnacho. So they've got pace on the counter because they can't really dictate the game, really, because they haven't got the players to do it. So we need to control it. So that is the only question mark I have over the team in my head. I've got everyone else is pretty much cemented, barring issues. I personally would like Jones to start, but I don't think we've had Jones, Mach, and Endo start a game yet. That will be the only thing that's the question mark for me. Do you trust that as a first-time experience potentially in this type of game? Or do we stick with the tried and tested and go with Szoboszlai because it hasn't really failed as yet as a midfield three? I know that was the midfield. Was it the midfield three that played against United first time round in the FA Cup? Not sure.
Yeah.
It was, but we were knackered. And it was a different game. Like I said, they had a week to prepare. They didn't have that. They had to play an intense game Thursday. Yeah. So that might help us. So it could go either way. I'm happy with either midfield, but I wouldn't mind having Curtis Jones in there because he's going to be fresher. Whether he's 100% fit could be different, but I still think it's worth a go.
See, I think it'd be worth having both. Like, similarly to how... what a lot of us don't really seem to consider as well is we played midweek and then we went and played 120 minutes against United then on the Sunday. We were fucked. We were absolutely banjacks by the end of it, and there was no legs left in anybody. Luis Diaz, for one, how he wasn't carried off on a stretcher is beyond me. But we're getting people back. We'll be getting... Curtis Jones is going to be back. We have a plethora of players that can come in and do a job. And I think... I don't know who I'd start, though. That's the thing. Would you, Neil, would you start Jones or Szoboszlai, knowing you're going to switch one for the other at about 60 minutes?
If everyone was up to speed and fully match fit, I would start Curtis Jones every day of the week. But he's come back from being out for a few weeks, played a very good half hour. And I think probably I'd start Szoboszlai. And I've probably changed my mind on that since Thursday. And to try, to try and give us a bit of X factor, try and get us into a lead where for the last half an hour we can bring Jones on and, bring a certain amount of control, the control to the game that he will bring. So I think, so I'm of the opinion it would be an hour for Szoboszlai and probably 30 minutes for Jones. Harvey Elliott deserves a mention because I think he did well. He did well off the bench on Thursday again, but I think he's unfortunately at the moment he seems to be more effective when he does come on for the last 25 minutes of games as opposed to starting. So I think that would be my plan. Try and get into a lead, and then I think Jones can offer us great control in the last half hour.
Exactly. I see that'd be my thinking as well, is start Szoboszlai, try and pummel them straight away, because he could crack a goal from 30 yards and score a worldie if he wanted to. And then bring Jones on if you want control in the later part of the game. I think there's an awful lot of tactical flexibility there when doing that. So that should help us. Plus the fact that they've now played a really intensive game midweek. I wouldn't say our game was as intensive. Still had to pull it out the arse at points, but I wouldn't have called it intensive. Like we were comfortable after the second goal we scored. So like them, it went all the way to 100 minutes. Like and nothing is more ironic, Dean, than Chelsea scoring 2 goals when the allotted added time is up, considering how many goals United have scored over the years in quote unquote Fergie time. It's absolutely beautiful. But on Thursday with United, it was their scoreline reflective of how they are as a team, or more reflective of how hilariously bad and more or less like a basketball game it would have been with playing that Chelsea side and how badly they're coached and they're set up at the moment?
In all honesty, I think they were both as bad as each other. I just think United have a bit more of a settled system as such, because they've got, they haven't had as many new players and the manager's been there for a couple of years. I think they've got a couple of lads as well, the academy lads, that try actually work hard for the team, whereas Chelsea, it's whether they feel like it. Both sides were awful in different periods. From what I watched, I know I was mainly watching the Liverpool game for obvious reasons, but Chelsea, the first 15 minutes, from what I saw, were very, very good, and then they just fell on their arse and they weren't very good at all. And then it made United are good in moments. They'll pull out a worldie of a pass, and it's like Højlund will get a finish, or whoever gets a finish. Garnacho will score a wonder goal, and he's the best thing since sliced bread. But overall, when you watch them from a tactical point of view and from an effort point of view, if someone gets at them and constantly gets at them, they just fall apart. There's not much of a making of the team. That if they had to stick with that team for another season, they're only going to go backwards, because half of them don't want to do what the manager wants to do, and half of them don't want to be there. There's only a few of them that actually try hard for them. Because Chelsea, I think, they're a bit like a headless chicken. They are just running around and hoping something sticks. And sometimes it does, but it's mainly through Cole Palmer. Once again, yes, I know he's not an academy lad, but he's a young lad coming through trying to make his name. He's working hard for it. And then you got £200 million midfielders just providing assists for the other side, with Caicedo. And then Enzo Fernandez didn't have a great game either. So, yeah, they're just 2 lost teams. I'm happy about it. They deserve it. They both deserve each other. But it's sad, but funny sad.
It's funny sad is the best way to describe it. That's one of them things. Neil, tomorrow, or actually, I won't go tomorrow. I'll go back to McAllister's last goal. Paul puts an excellent question here. Is his goal against Fulham better than his rocket on Thursday? I think the goal on Thursday is better than the one against Fulham. Maybe not for nostalgic reasons, but I think it's better. First time contact outside of the boot and swerve it into the top corner. Exactly. Would you be in agreement with that?
Yeah, I would, because the one against Fulham, it's a brilliant goal, but it bounces up in front of him, and it's like sat there lovely to be able to hit. In terms of technique, the goal against Sheffield United on Thursday, I think, is much better, because, as you say, ball's coming across him, and he's having to strike that ball with the outside of his foot into the top corner. So I think 2 brilliant goals, but from a technical perspective, I think the Sheffield United one is a harder one to execute.
Yeah. I'll pose the question to you again now. Dominic Szoboszlai's goal against Leicester or McAllister's goal against Sheffield?
McAllister's goal.
Purely from the technicality side of it.
Yeah, I think so. It was just a very good goal. It's not an easy technique to pull off, and it was key as well. It was a vital goal in a game that we were, I would say, labouring when we shouldn't have been. He's beginning to remind me a little bit of Gundogan when he was at City. And some of the clutch moments that he used to come up with. All right, he did it over a longer period, but McAllister's now starting to have that kind of impact where when you need something to happen, he's the man that's starting to do it. So, I preferred his goal. I think technically to pull that off was an outstanding strike, and a crucial goal at the time that it came as well.
Yeah, it's I personally think, and I don't know about everybody else, but the goal of the season so far for me, and you can debate me on it or not, is Wataru Endo against Fulham. Again, similar to McAllister, in that ball was coming to him, had to strike it first time, and just bent it round into the top corner. Either that one or Darwin Núñez against Bournemouth in the Cup. Everybody laughed, missed touch, takes on a defender, goes right and just pings it over the top of the keeper. Just, if ever there was a Darwin Núñez goal, it was that. And that's probably the epitome of him as a player. I'll throw the same question to yourself, Dean. Fulham goal, Sheffield United goal, which was the better goal for Alexi McAllister?
I fully agree with Neil. I think it's the Sheffield one. He's under pressure, vital moments. Yes, it's on the edge of the box and not a few yards further out, but it's cutting across. The pace he hits on that ball, I thought he could have broke the net. I said to you in the group chat, it just reminded me of the free kick from Risa at Man United. Just had Risa screaming in my head. I know it's wrong foot, but he was a rocket. I didn't celebrate the goal. I just shouted Jesus Christ down the bloody every misses. I was like, what the hell was that?
I did the exact same thing. My missus was sitting beside me and the goal went in and hands went over and I grabbed her and she jumped. She said her soul left her body with the fright, because I usually shout when a goal goes in. Yeah, and this is, Neil, this might be a tougher one. I don't know if you've seen this one now. Mach's goal or Gerrard against Olympiacos. Which one is the better goal? Just better goal. Doesn't have to be technicality or anything like that or any singular thing. Just better goal.
Probably Gerrard's. Slightly longer distance shot. And again, it meant, that meant that we could go on and win the Champions League that year. So I'd probably go with his. There's not much between it. If we talk about good goals, actually Salah's winner against Brighton last week, I loved. That was pure football. Virgil out to Dominic. Dominic, I think it was, lovely pass inside to McAllister, and then that through ball and finish. So Gerrard's strike, McAllister's strike are really easy on the eye. But a team goal like Salah's last week as well is something to be appreciated, because that was a brilliant football goal.
And McAllister again at the centre of that too, with a beautiful pass that pierced through two centre backs right through the half spaces. Dean, I'll throw the second question from Paul here to you. McAllister's goal or Company versus Leicester, which is the better goal?
Company get the bin. Ever since that bloody goal, I hated him.
He miskicked it. He didn't kick that clean either.
He just lashed it, didn't he? He just hit and hope. Granted, it's a great finish, but he just smashed it. He didn't mean to do that. Nah, get in the bin. I don't want any City goals in this discussion. But I think just on the side, I think you're all wrong. I think Núñez's goal against Sheffield is the best goal of the season, because I've seen strikers do what he did millions of times and it never comes off. The fact it's a no-look finish, so Bobby will be proud of that. It hits, like he does a karate kick and it hits the back leg, and he still chases it down.
Did it hit his leg or did it hit his third leg now? Which one did it hit?
I'll let you decide that.
Well, when you're swinging something as big as a Pringles can, I'm sure it was probably the third leg. But no, that was just an epitome of Darwin Núñez as well. No more than the Bournemouth goal that I mentioned, where it's just, right, I've fucked it up. The touch has gone this way. I'm going to go and I'm going to take on the defender and I'm going to put it over the keeper from near outside the box. Whereas this, similar to the goal where he just beautifully chipped, just nice and soft after Jota headed it over, and for a beautiful assist as well. It's one of them that's just, to be fair, we have a plethora of goals that come out. Like, it's not going to be counted as a goal, but Trent's free kick, the first goal against Fulham. Yeah. You can't, like, it came back off. It would have, like, the fact that it came back off Leno's back is just sad, because if that was a millimeter lower, that's a goal. And there's no way anyone's picking that out. Similarly to McAllister's goal. But before we move on to the last topic of this evening, just want to ask everybody to make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And make sure you have your notification bell on for all future videos and streams. We'll be live again tomorrow after the game at 5:30 UK time. And then I'll be on live again tomorrow evening, Sunday evening at 7:30 UK time. So make sure you're around for the both of them. Hopefully we'll be celebrating us being top of the league. But in lieu of that, we will get on to some predictions. Please put it in the chat what you think will be the starting 11 for Liverpool to face Man United tomorrow. And we'll go over to our panelists and we will ask them the same question. Dean, I'll come to you first in this one and give me your starting 11 and why you think they should be in the starting 11. We had debates earlier about should it be Jones, should it be Szoboszlai, should it be Szoboszlai first and then Jones come on at 60 minutes, or how should the team possibly rotate? Because I was seeing the question asked as well in the chat by Paul, would you start Gomez at left back or would you start Andy Robertson? Obviously depending on fitness as well. So give me your 11 and reasoning why behind
it. Obviously Keller in goal. I would go Robertson at left back. Van Dijk, I really hope Konate starts. I know he probably wasn't meant to play 90 minutes and he obviously picked up a bit of a knock, but it doesn't look like there's anything that's come out of it. So I hope Konate starts just for that pace at the back. I think Gomez should start at right back over Bradley just for a bit of solidity. And then I think when Robertson comes off, you can put Bradley on at right back. Endo, Mach. I'm going to go Jones. If Robertson starts, I want Jones in the midfield. Just allow that cover on that left side. And then Núñez and Salah, obviously. I'm going to say Diaz. I think he's deserved these the last few games. He's been really stepped up. I was debating having Cody in. Yes, I know his cameo was one of the worst cameos I've ever seen in the FA Cup when he came on. Didn't look arsed at all. But he looked revitalised against Sheffield. I know it was Sheffield United and not Man United, but still. But I'm going to stick with Diaz. Just I think he could run them ragged. And if he has Robertson supporting him as well, I think it'll really help.
Yeah, I think so as well. And to be fair, I know people have gotten on both Diaz and Cody Gakpo all season for their performances all season, but I actually have the numbers taken down here and where have I them put? So goals and assists this season, and I don't think many people have believed this. Both Diaz and Gakpo have been slated all season and nearly on 20 goal contributions each for the season, which is absolutely madness. And I think Diaz has 9 in his last 13, and that should probably pip him. But I still think that putting in Gakpo over on the left to replace Diaz and keep his legs fresh for midweek next week might be the best shout to do. And then have Núñez stay up front and keep Salah on for as long as you possibly can as well. Like, we obviously have to mind his old legs, but Neil, I'll come to yourself now on that question as well. We have one from here from Helior that mentions his starting 11. So he has Kelleher, Gomez, Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson, Endo, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Salah, Diaz, Núñez. Essentially the same as Dean, other than Szoboszlai and for Jones. Would you be in a similar opinion as Helior there, or would you be more along the lines of Dean, or have you your own concoction of an 11 that we can go with?
No, I saw Helior post that earlier, and I thought that's probably the starting lineup that I would go with. I think Robertson did well when he came on Thursday.
Yeah.
I think he helped settle the team down as well. So he's relatively fresh. So let's give him a start. Probably play Gomez on the right to cope. It'll probably be Garnacho. I don't think Rashford will play. I think it'll be Anthony, Højlund and Garnacho. So
did you see Rashford against Chelsea?
Yeah, no,
that's pathetic.
Yeah,
like as you mentioned, Dean, like it's just he just was jogging after Cole Palmer, not even interested at all, which is why I'm like, how does he end up just getting up for a game like this? Sorry, Neil, I'll let you go ahead with the rest.
Okay. So I think Gomez for a bit of defensive protection on the right against Garnacho, who's he's a decent player, Garnacho. Midfield 3, we've already said I would start with Szoboszlai and then bring on Jones. I think Diaz has really stepped up over recent weeks. If I'm honest, I think his work rate has been incredible. His output in the final third isn't as good as it probably can be, and as probably should be. But he adds a certain dynamic on the left. I think what we've got is a luxury of a decent bench as well. So Cody Gakpo did look very good when he came on midweek. It was a good goal. It was a good header. We've got Elliott. We've got Jones. We've got Gravenberch, who was a bit hit and miss on Thursday, but his first game for a while. He was okay first half, but then looked off the pace second half, and then we've got the option of Connor Bradley as well. So I'd go with the same team as Hellier, and I think we've got some great options off the bench as well.
You see, what's great about that is the way you mentioned the options off the bench is whether you start Diaz or Gakpo, you know somebody else is coming on. Exactly. And you're like, it's like as Paul mentioned here, is Diaz running at, and similarly to what Dean mentioned as well, on the left hand side, if you have Andy Robertson, Curtis Jones, and Luis Diaz, Maguire and Delort are going to be ran ragged, and then all of a sudden you can bring on Cody Gakpo, move Gomez to the left, bring on Connor Bradley, and then you have the same attack up the right hand side then, and Nunes is going to be causing havoc. So if Harry Maguire has to worry about Luis Diaz cutting inside and then Andy Robertson overlapping and then Nunes running in behind him over his left shoulder, and he has a young kid beside him that he hasn't really played with before, and he's going to end up just maybe a mistake, a mental error may occur, and all of a sudden we're in for a goal, and it may happen early too. But that's the way that I would look at it. We have Electric Dreams here mentioned about Gakpo starting over Diaz to rest him. But I agree with that to a sense, but like forwards and strikers are confidence players, and when they're hot, you got to feed the hot hand. And Diaz is 9 goal contributions in his last 13 games. I think you keep him on and feed him because he could bag a goal. Salah could do nothing for 85 minutes and score a winner in the 90th minute. Nunes is just he's going to work for 100 minutes if you ask him, and he won't stop, and that's just what he is. My own 11 would be probably very similar to you guys. I would probably change nothing about it. I think I'd still start Connor Bradley, to be honest with you. Because you mentioned Dean for a bit of defensive stability, but he's a really good defender as well. But I think it's more Gomez is quicker. And maybe starting Gomez over him would help deal with the likes of Garnacho, Anthony down the wing or anything like that, or somebody running at him down the wing. And as Paul mentions here, like, you don't rest anybody against Man United. You put your strongest 11 out and you go and you try and take the game to them. United won't rest anybody against us. It's just one of them things. But I'd have Kelleher in goal, Gomez on the right, a partnership in the middle of Konate if fit. If not, I don't mind going with Kwanzaa. You mentioned about his pace, Konate's pace, Dean. Kwanzaa's rapid. Like, he started, I don't know if it was the Sheffield game or if it was the Brighton game. I think it was the Brighton game where he was running against Adringa. He started 5 yards behind him and ended up 2 yards ahead of him by the time he got the ball. Like, he's rapid for a guy that's like 6'2". He's very, very quick. So I don't mind him being there alongside Van Dijk. And then on the left, Andy Robertson. Midfield, I'd have Endo, McAllister, and Szoboszlai. And then front three of Diaz, Nunes, and Salah. You can't really, like, as it stands, like, of them three, and I counted it as well, of them three up front this season, Diaz, Nunes, and Salah, 52 goals and 33 assists between the three of them. 85. Well, now that was before the Sheffield game, so I suppose you can bang another couple on top of that as well. And the fact that Diaz is on for a 20 goal contribution game, Nunes is on for a near 2020 season, and Salah is just Salah. Funnily, the only thing that I found that was quite interesting is Nunes has the most assists out of anybody in the team with 14, which is absolutely mind-boggling from your number 9 to have the nearly 20 assists in a season. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it with that. I think that'll be probably our strongest 11 that we could put out. And then you have the likes of Jadon Danns, who could come on and replace Nunes if needs be, and he could bag a goal. You have Cody Gakpo that can come on and play one of the wings. Darwin Nunes could come out and move out to play one of the wings, and Jadon Danns sit in the middle. Or you could bring Jones on for Szoboszlai or Szoboszlai on for Jones, and then you have plenty of other guys that could come on for defense. Like, you have Tsimikas that could come on, Connor Bradley could come on, or if you want to go the opposite way, Andy Robertson can come on, Joe Gomez can come on, and then you have either Konate starting, and then Kwanzaa can come on for either one of them, and you're set. Like, it's we've a very dangerous bench, and that's one thing that we can really look forward to. But we'll move on now to our score predictions. And if you have any score predictions, please throw them into the chat and we'll get into them. Other than that, Neil, I'll ask yourself for a score prediction for tomorrow and who's going to score.
So we need to break this habit of conceding goals. So I don't think we've had a clean sheet for ages. So I'm going to go for a clinical 3-0 victory with goals from Salah, Nunez, and Gakpo off the bench.
Beautiful. Dean, how about you?
I think I'm going to be a bit cheeky and have two small predictions here. I think if we score first, it's going to be a 4-0. I think we'll just run and ragged if we score first. If we don't score first, I think it's going to be 3-1, 2-1, 3-1. Something like that. It's going to be a bit tighter. But so I'm going to go Nunez to bag one. I'm going to go Salah to bag one. And I think that left side could be crucial. So I'll go with Diaz to bag one. So, yeah, them three.
Yeah, that's not bad. And another interesting fact, if you did want to know about it, is that we have Paul's mentioned here, Salah, Darwin, McAllister, penalty, and Jones late. That'd be absolutely beautiful. So far this season, this was before the Sheffield game, Liverpool have 122 goal contributions in all competitions. Nobody has scored a hat-trick this season. And that's absolutely crazy. But I will go with a 2-0 victory. It'll be a goal in the first half. United will capitulate a little bit in the second half after coming out because Liverpool are the top of the Premier League and playing in the second half. And I think the goals are going to come from Salah. I think Salah is going to have his shooting boots on. He got so many shots. United concede so many shots. We're going to have so many chances. You throw enough shit at a wall, some of it's going to stick. So, eventually they will go in. The only thing that we can't do is concede first. We concede first, we're immediately fighting a horrible uphill battle against United in Old Trafford, where they could very easily do the same thing that they did against us in Anfield and sit everybody behind the ball. United are currently 22 points behind us. Where are they in terms of European places at the moment?
I think they're sixth. West Ham just level.
Yeah, they're sixth on tied points with West Ham, and they're 9 points behind Spurs. So if they want European football next year of any meaningful quality, and I say meaningful because them in the Conference League would just be absolutely hilarious. Like they should walk that alone. But for them in the Conference League, I think that's just way too silly for them. Kind of like us in the Europa League. If anybody's seen our coefficient when we were in the Europa League, it was madness, absolute madness. The closest one to us was Roma, and they were 20,000 points behind us. We were like 110,000 in the coefficient, which was nuts. It kind of shows considering we're one of the favourites to win the competition alongside Leverkusen. But United are 9 points behind Spurs, and they've lost 3 of their last 5, and they've dropped points in 4 of their last 5, and they've only won 1, which was against Everton back on the 9th of March. They haven't won in a month. So this is really a time where we could properly get on them and push it down. Now, let them have the FA Cup. Go play Coventry and enjoy getting... What would be absolutely hilarious is if they lost to Coventry and Coventry got all the way to Wembley in the final. It'd be absolutely beautiful. I'd love that. And I think if that happened, I think Ten Hag is fired on the spot. But it would like, Neil, you're there laughing at everything. I think it genuinely would be absolutely hilarious. I have 2-0.
Coventry aren't a bad team.
They're not. They're really not. They won again today too.
Yeah. So I think they could cause them some problems. So let's hope.
That's what. Well, like as Dean said, like United don't show up for team. They play down to their competition, but they also play up to them as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which is one of the like you seen against City.
Yeah, it reminds me when they were winning leagues, we always used to turn up when they used to come to Anfield, and I think it's a bit of a role reversal at the moment. So that's my only concern about tomorrow. I think they might change their tactics tomorrow because I think they're realising that they can't continue to concede an average of 30 shots per game, which it was against Chelsea, or 28.
I think it's 250 shots conceded in 2024 alone. That's not, that's half the season. Not even.
Very few.
So I've got a feeling they'll be a bit more pragmatic. Tomorrow to try and stop that. So,
do you think they might play a low block similarly to how they played at Anfield?
I think so.
Do you not think so,
sure.
Dean? No?
It's the fans will be on the back. I think they'll be a bit more pragmatic, like you said. They'll be a bit more smart, well, as much as they can be. I think they'll contain and then catch on the break. Try to anyway. I can't see. They went full on double decker, 3 or 4 buses in front of the goal. They just wanted to point out that they can't do that in this game. The fans will be just on them all the time.
Fans are on them anyway, though.
Oh, no, they are on them anyway. But they got a goal there that the fans that you saw last time, they were bang up for it, weren't they? Then so. This is the problem. I can't predict how they'll approach it because, like you say, they can't go, guns for glory. They can't do that because they'll just get outmanned tactically and physically. But they can't be too pragmatic because the fans will be on them, and if they lose the fans on the day, they'll just crumble. They haven't got the mentality to follow through with it. So you're going to be scratching his head to a point, because of that. But he won't be too concerned because we are a better side than them. Our biggest enemies generally are us, our own selves. We need to just turn up.
Yeah.
Just win. Just for God's sake, just win.
Yeah, just win. I don't care. It could be 1-0, could be 10-0. Just win. I want the 3 points. We'll end it on this because Paul's asked a great question here. A combined 11. Dean, would you take anybody from this current Man United squad right now into this Liverpool squad? I think that's probably the quickest way to answer this question because my immediate answer is no.
Well, I could do with a third choice left winger, Garnacho, and that's about it. It's always good to have numbers.
Yeah, it's always good to have numbers back up. People, bums and seats. Neil, yourself, is there anybody? Like, on skill alone, maybe Bruno Fernandes, but then his attitude just immediately disqualifies him from it. And Paul mentioned here Maino.
Yeah, so Mainu's the one. I think Mainu and Garnacho are the two that probably stand out as shining lights in what's been a pretty poor season for them.
Yeah.
Mainu looked very good, although I thought he looked like he was getting tired the other night as well. I couldn't tolerate Fernandes. Now, whether he'd be different if he was managed differently and playing in a different team, but I can't stand him. That's not to say he's not talented, but I don't like his attitude where he gives up, and that's the captain of the team, and I think that speaks volumes.
I called it to a United fan at the start of the season as well. I was like, you really picked Fernandes to be your captain. Like, at least Harry Maguire, as bad as he is, will at least play for the badge. Fernandes, second his head drops, he's gone. He just start lashing out at people. And Paul, I love you, but you can get in the bin. I'd rather go and goal over Onana. Like,
let's be fair. I'd consider it. I might just take him over Adrian.
No, but to be fair, to add a bit of balance, he started the season terribly, probably up till the turn of the year. He's improved since the turn of the year.
I mean, he couldn't get worse.
No, he couldn't. But he has improved. He's still not at the level that he needs to be, but he has improved.
I don't think he'll ever. I think this is his ceiling. I think this is what he'll be like. He's going to have calamitous errors, and I don't think he's going to ever achieve what United want him to achieve, as in like where his ceiling could be. And everybody pointed it out when he was at Inter, and United then went and signed him. And like, what's hilarious is like, even throughout the whole lot of it, like, David De Gea is still a free agent. And I think he's a way better shot stopper than Onana. Like, fair play, he has some blunders, but Onana, man, have you noticed it's kind of been ever since Ten Hag was like, stay in your fucking box and stop coming out and being a mad dope and just stay in your box where you can handle the ball, stay there, and that's when he's improved. When he's doing this sweeper keeper shit, trying to be Manuel Neuer, he all of a sudden just has blunders left, right, and centre. But I do agree, he has improved.
He was in his box at Inter Milan virtually all the time, and he was a great shot stopper then. But like I say, as soon as he leaves that white line, and it's like, oh dear.
As soon as he leaves a 6-yard box, you're like, you hold your breath. It's like Karius when he was with us for a while, and Adrian as well. You're like, just give away the ball. Like, I am so much more if I like, from a non-biased perspective, Kelleher with the ball at his feet is a million times better than Onana with the ball at his feet. That I have no question, and that's a hill I'll die on.
I will be controversial and say that Kelleher with the ball at his feet is better than Alisson Becker with the ball at his feet.
I don't disagree with you. The reason why, Dean, I would say he's better, Kelleher's right-footed. You watch him and tell me, is he ambidextrous or is he left-footed or is he right-footed? Because he's so brilliant with the ball at either one of his feet. it's his left foot is as strong as his right foot, and that's incredible to say for a keeper, because you have players like Alisson that are considered the best, not Alisson, excuse me, Salah, who are considered the best in the world, and I've never seen a man more left-footed in my life. The same as Harvey Elliott. Like, they're very well-footed.
All I say in report to that is, how many assists has Callagher got at Liverpool?
Yeah, okay, fine. I think with Ali,
out of his hands with his strong foot.
I love Ali, and I think he's one, if not probably the best goalkeeper in the world. But I do feel more confident with Kelleher with the ball at his feet. I think his touch to get the ball away from his body is better than Alisson's, and I think that's where Alisson gets himself into trouble, where he gets the ball stuck under his feet.
It's a slightly heavy touch, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about rare occasions. But I do think Kelleher is. I think it's a good point, Stephen, as well, that you see him clear the ball with his left foot, and you wouldn't know it was any different to his right. But I take Dean's point. Ali's got that eye for an assist as well, but that's a slightly different technique, kicking it out of your hands and on the floor, which is probably what I'm referring to.
Yeah, no, look, to be honest, it's hilarious because we have a keeper that's the best in the world, and then our backup keeper would start for probably 17 Premier League teams outside of ourselves. City and Arsenal wouldn't start him because they have two keepers.
It's really interesting because, and it's a lesson really to be learned, that these backup goalkeepers, squad players need a run of games for you to be able to see how good they are. Because if you remember at the start of the season when he was just coming in and playing
one game here, one game there
in Europa League, people were getting on his back. People weren't happy against Toulouse. He made a mistake, and people were like really unhappy with him. But and we've seen it with Joe Gomez over the years. So it's really important that these players are judged when they get the opportunities to play. And he's now played as many games as Ali has this season, and we've seen, how good he can possibly be.
Like, the Carabao Cup alone should speak volumes for how good Kelleher can be. And like that game alone, he was man of the match that game. He didn't get it, but he should have won man of the match that game. He is the only reason we won that game. And we were there at 117 minutes where Van Dijk got his header. 100 million. Paul, to be perfectly honest with you, 100 million, I'm not taking any less. I'm not answering the phone unless there's 2 zeros after the first number, and that's just my own opinion on it.
If it was Bulgarian, you would have taken 30 for him.
Yeah, but he's not Bulgarian, is he? He's Irish. You'd say if Salah was English, you'd be asking for 300 million for him now, like. So goes both ways, man. Goes both ways. If Nunez was English, you'd be asking the same. This is a tax, and it's about goddamn time we had a good Irish player in the Premier League again after so long of not really having one for a while. Good few years that we haven't had one. Seamus Coleman had a run, but he's in Everton, so can't really, shout his praises all that much. Evan Ferguson looks like he's going to be a great one as well, and then you have other players all around as well. Like Luton have a guy as well. Ogbene, he's rapid on the wing. He could be very good too. There's a couple of others, but Kelleher is the shining light and definitely deserves to be Ireland's number one. But guys, we are going to leave it there. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us this evening on this wonderful Saturday evening. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We really do appreciate it, and make sure you have your notification bells on for all future streams and videos. We will be going ahead tomorrow with a post-game stream at about 5:30. Dan will be hosting that, and then I'll be back again at 7:30 tomorrow night for another stream then, hopefully with Liverpool sitting on top of the league, and we can all sit here and celebrate a little bit and go into next week in Europa League. And the following week after that will probably be one of the toughest games we're going to have in the run-in, over and done with. But thank you guys so much for joining us on this wonderful Saturday evening. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend and the rest of their weekend, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much.